What's up, everybody? Welcome to the UltraAF podcast, where we talk about extreme outdoors. We talk about anything and everything that is ultra. My name is Brian Trippe. I'm your host. I'm excited to bring you this week's episode. What's up, everybody? My name is Brian Trippe. Welcome to the introduction episode of the UltraAF podcast, where we talk about extreme outdoor activities. Mostly probably ultra running, trail running, triathlon, mountain climbing, obviously biking and swimming, hiking, whatever you can think of that's ultra or extreme that we can do outdoors. That's what we're going to be talking about. I've got some experience doing this, not a ton. I'm going to be interviewing a lot of guests. I'm going to be sharing some of my personal experiences, and just want to take just a couple minutes to introduce myself to everyone. I'm a longtime podcaster. This is a brand new project for me, something I've become passionate about over the past few years. I think with a lot of folks during COVID, they ended up getting outdoors, some for the first time in a long time. Something happened to me actually right before COVID, just a couple of months before COVID. Had a very personal, traumatic life event happen. I'm sure I'm going to talk about that in detail in possibly later episodes. But what that allowed me to do is it just really just kind of forced me internally just to start working on me and working on my body, working on my fitness. I'd always been athletic all throughout high school and even in college. I didn't play college sports, but I was still, very athletic and very active, doing a lot of different things. And then, once I got out of college, I think it's like a lot of folks, they just stop doing it. Life takes over, and other priorities take place. And for me, this traumatic life experience just kind of made me realize that I was leaving a lot on the table. A lot of things I wanted to do and wanted to accomplish in my life, I couldn't do. I wasn't fit enough. I wasn't in shape enough. I hadn't run a mile in more than 17 years. I'm talking about just one singular mile. Hadn't gotten out and run one and it had been 17 years. So one day I just woke up and decided I was going to try to run a mile. And went out to our local high school, our local track, and I ran/walked a 12-minute mile, and I was dead, and my legs were hurting, and my whole body was hurting. And I'd previously, I'd torn my ACL in college. I had torn my meniscus a couple of years after I got out of college, and I'd always kind of said to myself, I got bad knees. Every time I tried to do anything athletic, my knees end up hurting. Well, and then they sure enough did. I tried to run/walk that mile that day, and my knees were killing me. And I just kind of used the excuse. My knees don't allow me to run. I can't run. Well, once I healed up after a couple of days and felt a little bit better, the soreness went away. I went out and ran another mile. Then I ran 2. Then I ran 3. And there was this really slow build up. And I think that's important too. I think a lot of us who are trying to get back in shape, we end up trying to we want to get in shape in one day. And it just doesn't work that way at all. Our body obviously needs time to heal and recover. And so I just spent a long time, a methodical approach at getting back in shape. I started hiking, which really helped. I was surprised at how much it helped to just start hiking and start getting some elevation in. Even though I was just walking, I was completely out of breath. Well, I ended up getting hooked to it, and it ended up becoming a really good meditative process for me. I bought a cheap road bike, that spring of 2020, and started just kind of cycling over at my local state park, and just had no desire I wasn't even thinking about ultra anything. I hadn't even run a 5K, let alone an ultra race or any kind of ultra anything. But one thing happened to me later that summer, just a few months removed from kind of starting this process. And it's that I went to Grand Canyon. for the first time. And, this is something I dreamed about my whole life, thought about it. I live in Alabama. I've been in Alabama since I graduated from high school. So I've been here I'm 44 now. So I've been here for quite a few years, over 20 years. And just going to the West, I'd never really done that at all. But I wanted to visit Grand Canyon. It's something I just always wanted to do. Well, in the summer of 2020, I got the opportunity to do it. A friend of mine, I flew into Phoenix, and a friend of mine drove up to Grand Canyon with me, and we hiked down the Bright Angel Trail. If you're familiar with Grand Canyon at all, hiked down to the river, and I actually hiked into Bright Angel Camp. I took the what was that, the river trail? I forgot what that's called. The river road. Took that over to the Silver Bridge, crossed the Silver Bridge into Bright Angel Camp, and then we came back. And I was exhausted. I think we did over 20 miles that day, 21, 22 miles, something like that. And I was dead. I was completely exhausted. I wasn't in really that kind of shape. But just being at Grand Canyon really kind of changed it all for me. It's just looking at it, experiencing it. It was gorgeous. Obviously, if you've been, you know. And from there, a friend of mine challenged me and another friend to do a half Ironman. I'd just barely been biking, and I'd just barely been running, and I hadn't started swimming at all. And so just kind of from there, there's just progression. Since then I did my first triathlon in the spring of 2021. I did a super sprint over in Atlanta and finished 11th overall. Finished first in my age group and 11th overall, which that really was a big motivating factor for me. It's like I'm a pretty competitive person. I wasn't trying to be competitive necessarily. I was trying to do the best I could be. I wasn't really trying to compete against other people. And I came in 11th, and that was my very first triathlon. I was really surprised by that. And later that summer, I did an Olympic triathlon and did okay in it. And then the fall of 2021, late September of 2021, I did Ironman Chattanooga and finished it in 13 hours and I think 3 minutes. And I'd always thought, being an Ironman, that's like the greatest accomplishment. That's like the greatest thing that you could ever achieve athletically is an Ironman. Well, I later learned that that's not necessarily true. There's obviously a lot greater things that you can do, but doing an Ironman, just thinking about it, just what is that? 18 months removed from not even having run a mile, and 18 months later, I do an Ironman. And then from there, I just kept building, slowly building. Ended up climbing a lot of peaks. I started, doing kind of high points and traveling around the country, just trying to do different adventures and different challenges. I hiked the Pinhoti Trail, which is a kind of an extension of the Appalachian Trail here locally in Alabama. And then the next year, I did even greater things. I did more triathlons. I did another Ironman. Way better time this time. I recently did a 100-mile race, the Pinhoti 100. So, I've done all these things now, and not to mention going to numerous national parks and doing some really cool things at national parks, like going to, the top of Half Dome and just doing some neat things and cool things that I never even could have done or would have done if I hadn't gotten in shape. So all that being said, that's what this podcast is going to be about, or what it is about. And, I'm interviewing some incredible people. I've already got some awesome guests lined up that hopefully are going to be really cool and share some great stories with you guys. But really the purpose of this is, obviously I want to tell my stories because I think they're, think they'll help other people. But, and I want to hear from other people's stories because I think that can inspire, others and myself to do really cool things. But the biggest thing is, going back to where I was in 2020, early 2020, this is pre-COVID. This is like February of 2020. I didn't think I could run a mile. I didn't know if I could run a mile. And people who might be listening to this, you might be in a similar situation. You might hear other people's stories, or they ran 200 miles, or they did these crazy things. They ran across America, biked across America, did all these insane, epic, extreme, ultra things. And it's like, there's no way I could ever do that. Well, I just want to do this podcast as a challenge to anyone who might be listening. I think you can do it. I really think that we can do way more than what we think that we can do. And so I just want to put that out there as a challenge. And I'm going to be sharing a lot of adventures. Get in touch with me if you do crazy, extreme, ultra things in the outdoors. Find me, get in touch with me. Go to ultraaf.com. You can find me on Instagram. I'm ultra.dad on Instagram. You can find our YouTube page. Just reach out to me. Share with me your story. Love to get you on the show and hear your story and hopefully inspire people to change, inspire people to do greater things than even what they're doing right now. So with all that being said, guys, buckle up. It's going to be an awesome adventure. I'm super excited to start this project, and I already recorded a ton of episodes. Can't wait to release those episodes to you guys and just get that out there and buckle up. It's going to be an awesome adventure. I'll see you guys on the other side.